Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah, this message meets everybody while they in the best state of iman, trying to grow in this deen and stay focused on striving for Jannah. I mean. So, alhamdulillah, man, the brother asked in my comments about the video with the Islamic marital discord and questions about Salafiyah, right? So he asked a beautiful question about, the Quran ayat. So like people who didn't see the comment or not familiar with the Quran verse, I'm going to read it. So he referred to Surah 6, ayat number 159, where it says, Allah Azza wa Jal says, verily those who divide their religion and break up into sects, you have no concern with them. You have no concern with them in the least. Their affair is only with Allah, who will then tell them what they used to do. So their judgment rests with Allah. You don't have no concern with them. Don't worry yourself with them. You know, along the line, especially when you look at the tafsirs, see the Rasul used to grieve for people. So don't grieve over them. Don't worry about them. You can't fix them. Guidance comes from Allah. Okay? You stick to what you're supposed to stick to, and the people who stick into it with you, and I will deal with those who's dividing this deen up into sects. So why do people continue to do it? Right? So we're going to use Dalil from Quran and the Sunnah, and we're gonna bring it to the understanding that the companions had with these verses and these ayats. So one, I didn't write it down, but for one, and I always say this, what's the main component? What's the main reason for a lot of this? Let me grab me a black marker out of this box, because it don't look as bright right here. The main component because of shaitan. Because of shaitan. Now, what I'm going to do is detail some things that we think is sex aren't sex. So that's what I really want to distinguish, because shaitan will have us looking at people in the wrong way, and then not paying any attention to the ones that's in the wrong, to the what really are sex. You see what I'm saying? This is a trick from the shaitan. So one, shaitan, keep in mind, and I discussed this in other videos, Quran al-Kareem informs us that when Adam alayhi salam and his wife got kicked out of Jannah with shaitan, the main thing was we was banished to earth to be enemies amongst one another. Now also in that ayat, Allah informed Adam, when guidance from me comes, then you take it. So this guidance continues through prophets, all the way up to the last prophet and messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we need to understand what's this guidance, so that we can get back into paradise, so that we could be worthy of paradise. So shaitan, right, when he refused to bow down to Adam, when Adam, before breath was even in Adam, when Adam was basically just a real big dead body, and the angels and everything prostrated to Adam, and Iblis, shaitan, refused, he told, and when he had to get from that area, but what he said was to Allah Azza wa Jal, I'm going to lay in the straight path. I'm going to attack this thing every which way that I possibly can, to prove to you that he's not going to be grateful. You understand? I'm going to get him to the hellfire that you banishing me to. So that's Shaitan's duty, to lay on Sirat al-Mustaqim. Okay? And confuse every single revelation from Adam to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to confuse every ummah that came down. That's Shaitan objective. So on one hand, you got Shaitan pulling you. On another hand, with Allah knowing your heart and knowing what's in everything, Allah may allow you to be on the wrong sides of things. Is because your hands is earning it. So, one, we're going to discuss the Wahi. This is one thing that we can't escape, and this is one thing that we're not going to get away from. So you have to know what's right for you. So we're going to use, as I got written down here, Hadith 3,992 and 993, but we're going to use Ibn Majah, right? This hadith is in more than Ibn Majah, but this is just to show this is going to happen. And then we're going to show the Quran ayats that proves this hadith. So in 193, well, we going let's do, in 92, 3,992, right? It was narrated that Auf bin Malik, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the Jews split into 71 sects. So their religion, their deen, split into 71 sects. One of which will be in paradise and 70 in hell. So it's letting you know, the ones who was able to stick to what was sent down to the original Jews the way they were supposed to, they actually gonna end up in Jannah. Okay? Then the Christians split into 72 sects, 71 of which will be in hell and one in paradise. So the original, what they refer to as Christians, who was able to stick to what was really sent down by Allah Azza wa Jal, the one out of those 72 sects, one sect of them is going to Jannah. Okay? Now, we're not saying that's what these people, this is like when because all of that has been changed since the time when Isa was around, since the time when Musa was around. May Allah be pleased with both of them. Right? So what these people have today is not what was originally sent down. It don't matter if they're good people. See, a lot of us, I see a lot of Muslims, when they cross over, they confuse love for obedience. You can have people who love their parents, but they still bad children, see? You can have parents who love their kids, but they still bad parents. You can have a man that love a woman, but he's still a bad boyfriend or a bad girlfriend. Vice versa. She love her dude, but she's still not a good girl. You can love Allah and still not be a good Muslim. So some people confuse, oh, they love God, oh, they love Allah so much. That don't make them good. So people confuse that. So what these people have now from Christianity and Judaism isn't what was originally sent down. Right? So what it says is, then the Rasul said, I swear by the one in whose hand is my soul. So he's swearing by Allah. My nation, my ummah, will split into 73 sects. So we gonna split worse than the Jews did. Okay? The Jews, they only split into 71 sects. One in Jannah, the other 70 in the hellfire. The Christians split into 72 sects. One in Jannah and the other 71 in the hellfire. we're going to become worse than what they was. You understand? That's what people need to understand about this deen. And you need to get to the purity of it so that you can be on the version of Islam that leads to Jannah. Okay? This authentic hadith. Now keep that in mind. We're going to break up and split up worse than the Jews and the Christians. You understand? This is prophecy. But we're going to get the Quran ayats that go with this. Right? Now listen. He said, I swear by Allah. I swear by the hand. I swear by the one whose hand my soul is in. That's Allah Azza wa Jal al-Muqtadir. Right? That my ummah will split into 73 sects, one of which will be in paradise and the other 72 in hell. Over with. Done. Prophesied. No ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. So, with this Quran ayat, Allah is informing the Rasul, those other ones that's going to start to split up into 72 different groups, don't even worry about them. Allah gonna deal with them. That's what he telling Rasul. Don't grieve about them. You stick to that virgin that's gonna go to Jannah and lead them to me. You ain't got nothing to do with them, because the Rasul, sometimes when you're a prophet, a messenger, an imam, the head of your household, the people you're in charge of is your flock, and sometimes what they have going on can lead to you because they're your flock. You understand? The Rasul, I'm in charge of these people, because there's hadiths that go with it. Because, he had some companions, it was some people who did some things. And the Rasul would be like, I'm free from what you just did. I'm free from what this hypocrisy y'all coming up with. I'm not going to be held accountable for this. So this is some reassurance. You don't have nothing to do with them. Their judgment is with Allah. And I'm going to judge them. I'm going to inform them on the wrong that they was doing. So the hadith continues to say, it was said, O Messenger of Allah, who are they though? Who is this sect of Muslims that's going to be in Jannah? Who is this sect? So Rasulullah, he referred to them that the Jama'ah, the main body, the main group of Muslims that stick to, and this is also in the Quran, the main body of Muslims that stick to what I and my companions are up on. The one who follow this deen the way that I'm following it and the way that my companions follow me. The ones who able to do that end up in Jannah. Now, what do you refer to that as? The Salaf as-Salih. The term Salaf in the Arabic is in the Quran. Now, I'm not saying what you call yourself, because you could call yourself Salafi all day long and be horrible. You cannot call yourself Salafi and be the prime example of what a Muslim should be. So, we not turning it into a name or a label that you put on yourself. It's about what you actually being. So in English, they translate that to the main body. So in a lot of books, you will see where they say the main body of Muslims. The main body of Muslims in Arabic, a lot of people refer to them as Ahlus Sunnah wa Jama'ah, which means the group of people that adheres to the Sunnah. Okay? The group of people that adheres to the Sunnah. While the Jama'ah is basically the group, the gathering, the large number of people, Ahlu is basically people that adhere to the Sunnah. So that's the main body. The reason, so Ahlu Sunnah wal Jama'ah extends the Salaf. You can be a part of Ahlu Sunnah wal Jama'ah right now, but it got to be in actions. It don't matter if you say I'm with Ahlu Sunnah wal Jama'ah and you off it. So it's not that you say I'm from Ahlu Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It's that you really be on it. It's not that you call yourself Salafi. It's that you really be on it. It's not that you call yourself Sunni. But you gotta really be on the Sunnah. These is the problems. So what I'm breaking down is the sects is gonna happen to the end of time. Until it's all over with, it's gonna happen. You just have to protect yourself and not falling into that 72. Now, what we're going to do here is describe the definition of sect. If you look it up or look it up in a dictionary. So the definition of sect, let me stand up while I'm really low. Now check this out. The definition of a sect is a group of people, right, with somewhat different religious beliefs from those of a larger group to which they belong. So a larger group is what we refer to as the main body of Muslims, what the hadiths tell us to stick with. When he said which group is that's going to Jannah, the main body, right, the Jama'ah, those who up on this is words out of the Rasul mouth. Those who are up on what I am up on and what my companions are up on. So to think that a person who says I'm following Islam the way the Rasul and his companions did, I understand Islam the way that they did, to think that that is a sect because you don't like the behavior of some of the people is a flawed concept. But at the same time, just because a particular group put the label, I'm under the label of the ones that practice Islam, that follow Islam the way the Rasul and his companions did, but they really don't, that's also a flawed concept. So it's all about actions. You can remove the name, it's all about the actions. So basically, let's put this in Islamic terms. It's Muslims, right? Because it's people with somewhat of a different religious belief from those of a larger group to which they belong. So basically, it's Muslims with different Islamic beliefs. Okay? Because the Quran ayat, it don't say that they're not Muslims. It says that they're from the religion. They're just dividing it into sects. So basically, a sect is Muslims with different Islamic beliefs from the larger group. So they have different beliefs than the main body. Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, regardless of what they call themselves. Who is the original Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah? The Salaf, as-Salih. Now, in Quran, it gives the definition of the Salaf, a group of people that Allah left as an example from the past. So, the example that we're supposed to look towards for Islam and how to practice it the way that Allah sent it down and the way that the Rasul implemented, who do we look to towards those examples? the righteous ones from the Salaf. Now this is the definition of it in Quran al-Kareem. A group from the past that has been set as an example from the people to learn from. Whether you learn good from them or you look at what happened to them and seeing how they was destroyed and you learned that way. Okay, we don't go that route. So this is not this isn't a bad thing. It's just the people who don't understand it and don't know how to actually be Salafi, and they call themselves Salafi because of the fact of we don't want to be considered to be among the rest of the Sunnis. Now that's something different. Now this, I'm not telling people to be Salafi. I'm not telling people to call themselves Salafi. I'm not even calling to Salafiyah. We're going to leave the names off of it, and we're calling what Allah is telling us. His message, Allah and His Messenger is telling us. So you got to keep in mind first, what exactly is a sect? It's Muslims with different Islamic beliefs. So that breaks down the madhabs, which some people feel like they're a sect because they say, I'm Hanafi. A madhab is a school of thought of jurisprudence. Jurisprudence is your Islamic law, your rulings, and your judgments. So when they say they Hanafi, they saying they following Islamic law and jurisprudence and rulings and judgments in accordance with the way that Imam Hanifa ruled. Right? With the understanding that he had. Now, like when I say about the questions about wudu, when you ask 20 people, name 20 people from the Salaf and what's the understanding they had of wudu. Now, the reason why I say this, because you look at the madhabs, right now, a lot of people, the way that you've been taught Islam, you may not know this, but a lot of people, the way that they've been taught Islam, it was through a madhab. You just may not know it. Some of you make wudu in accordance with Imam Hanifa. Some of you make wudu in accordance with Imam Shafi'i. Some of you make wudu from the madhab of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Okay? Some of y'all pray in accordance with the way that the rulings and jurisprudence came through a madhab. You just don't know it. Now, is it possible? Do that mean they have different beliefs? No. So when I ask the question about the madhab, Imam Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, and Imam Ahmad was what? Some people try to exclude Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, but all four of them, and see, we're not even going to include the madhab that was before them, that's kind of been done away with, and their teachers kind of absorbed into all four of them and kind of into the Hanafi madhab. But all four of them, all four imams, is what? They part of the Salaf. You understand? All of them is from the first 3 to 4 generations of Muslims. And all four of them was Salih. All four of them is righteous. Right? So, what's the main body? Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Salaf, a Salih. All four of these imam is part of the Salaf Salih. Now, what comes in your ruling is ijma. When it comes to wudu, Imam Hanifa madhab has some things in wudu when you roll your hand back like this and then you turn your hands over and wipe the back of your neck. Can you find where the Rasul or any of his companions did that? Where did he get that from? I'm not saying if it's right or wrong. Some of them had the opinion that you have to get fresh water to wipe over your head. Okay? Some is under the opinion that your hands is already wet from when you do this and that, and then you just go over your head. See, so when you say what's the opinion that they have, being that you follow in accordance with the Salaf or Salih, that's how you practice Islam. Name 20 of them. How did they understand wudu? Do you get fresh water? Do you not have to get fresh water? Do you have to do the ears this way, or do you not have to do the ears? See, all of these is a thing. So madhabs, these things were they different because either at the time they didn't have access to a hadith that was clear on whether you should do this and that, or if it came from an athar. So this is what they had in front of them, and this is what they use as dalil. But it doesn't separate their religious beliefs. So therefore, the madhabs, or the people who claim a madhab, I'm Hanafi in jurisprudence, I'm Hanbali in jurisprudence. This doesn't take them outside of a group that refers to them as a sect. 1 second, somebody at my door. Alright, I'm back. It might be a little noisy, man. They doing a little work outside. So, as I was saying, these things aren't a sect. To actually be up on Salafiyah, that's not a sect, because you don't have different religious beliefs from the main body. Okay? Whether you want to call it the Salaf Salih, Ahlul Sunnah wa Jama'an, right? So, we're going to touch a couple of Quran ayats to show some things though. Now, keep in mind, so because some people refer to themselves as Salafi, but we talking about people who really own it. Just like you have people who refer to themselves as Hanafi, and they don't know nothing about the Hanafi madhab. I done bumped into them. I done been in whole Hanafi masjids. This a Hanafi masjid, and they don't understand the Hanafi madhab. Okay? So, now, then you have the madhab, the school of thought of, like Imam Wardeen. Now, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that, whether there's some differences in religious beliefs, okay? We're going to leave that alone. We going to leave it to, and then, so, these aren't sects. So people looking at those things, because what has happened is this. Certain groups of Salafis, they attack at one point in time. They're getting better. But they would attack madhabs. Not because they didn't know that all four of the imams was from the Salaf Salih. But the problem is this. The thing that you always have to keep in mind with the Salaf Salih is all about this. Ijma'. So if one individual imam who was great had an opinion, but 90 other ones had a different one, we're not going with his opinion. Now that don't mean his opinion can't be right, but we have to look at the dalil and be able to decipher. But if you aren't able to do that, generally you go with what? The consensus, the majority. So being that all four of them, right? Being that all four of them was from the Salaf, that's why they say if three madhabs agree and one of them don't, then you automatically have to go with what the three madhabs agree on. If two agree this way and then two the other ones don't, it's a split. Then you look at both of them, because one of them might be more suitable to your circumstances. But it's only in jurisprudence. These isn't things that's changing the deen. These is in areas where things can differ. That's why I like when people throw around terminologies. There's a difference of opinion. There's a difference of this, but they can't tell you what that difference is. It's just something that they want to get out of doing something, right? There's a difference of opinion if you should have hair on your face. No, there's not a difference of opinion of that. There's somewhat of a difference of opinion of how much of it you can shave or at what point. Not where you can shave it to the skin, where you can lower it to this, or if it's a fistful. There's differences of opinions on those type of things. You understand? With the covering, with the woman, with the niqab. Some people argue over if it's legal, is it permissible, and some say it's not permissible, some say it is. They argue over whether if it's mandatory or not. There's a difference of opinion on if it's mandatory or not. Right? So that's where the ijma comes in. So if 3 of those madhabs agree, then you got to go with the majority. You see what I'm saying? If you don't have the ability to look at the evidence yourself. This is just a rule of thumb. They from the Salaf. But like I said, a lot of the Salafis didn't know this. Because they was just stuck on the rhetoric of we call ourselves Salafi to distinguish ourselves from the Sunnis. Although they Sunnis, they got their own school of thoughts. Which a lot of it comes with the Dalil. And in certain areas you can differ. So these aren't sects. Okay? But like I said, we're not talking about what you call yourself. We're talking about what you actually are and what you on. Okay? So we're going to get into sects, but let's touch a couple of Quran ayats and why this is happening alongside with Shaitan. So look at this. And I circled this Quran ayat right here. Extremely important. And this is something that the Muslims need to know and understand. 3:179. Right? Then we go, after this, we're going to touch 2 ayats on this one, on this subject. Then we're going to go into the ayats that prove that's in accordance with the hadith, right? What a hadith is in accordance with those ayats. So in 3:179, look at what Allah Azza wa Jal tells us. Listen to this, man. Man, Allah is so beautiful, man. Walhamdulillah. The most beautiful, man. Allah tells us, Allah will not leave the believers in the state in which you are in until Allah distinguish the wicked people, the wicked Muslims from the good people, from the good Muslims. So there's going to be fitna. There's going to be turmoil. There's going to be people splitting into sects. Which means what? They from the large group, but they just have different religious beliefs than the group that they're a part of. So how we wording that? They Muslims with different Islamic beliefs. Yeah, that's a sect. Hanafis, Shafis, Malikis, Maliki, however you pronounce it, right? Hanbalis, Salafis, Sunnis, they don't have different religious beliefs. Now we know Salafi isn't a school of thought, it's a methodology. The same method that they use is the method that we're going to use. For instance, when Quran al-Kareem says, whenever an issue or something arises, refer back to Allah and His Messenger. We don't have Allah and His Messenger, but we had the teachings. So what we do, the first methodology when an issue arises, we take it back to the Quran and the Sunnah. Let's go look at the Quran first. Let's go look at the Sunnah. And then to dig even deeper, we're going to look at the ijma, the interpretations of these hadiths, the interpretations of the Quran. That's from Salafiyah. Okay? That's from Salafiyah. Some people going to go directly to, well, what did Imam Hanifa say? Imam Hanifa don't have the majority. He might differ. He might have a way that's different from the Sunnah. But in his madhab, he said out of his own mouth, because the world was different then. People used to have to travel for 2-3 months to a whole nother country just to learn one hadith. They didn't have all the hadiths in books collected. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to people like Imam Bukhari, who did all the traveling and collected all these authentic hadiths so that we can have them in one book. And then the ones who followed up behind him and did the same thing, so that we can have these things in one book, and then also collecting the interpretation of them. The ones who did the same thing with the Quran ayats and gathered up all the interpretations and put them into one book, into a volume of books, so that we can have tafsirs. See, they didn't all have access to that. So these imams said, while you out there traveling, if you come across a sunnah that's greater than what I'm saying do, that's actually authentic, then that's my sunnah too. I'm just not doing it that way right now because that knowledge hasn't reached me. So if you come across something better than what I said, you go with that, because that's the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is how the people he taught understood it. But what happens is, people love Imam Hanifa so much, they won't do that when an authentic sunnah happens with them. Same with Shafi'i, same with the Malikis or the Malikis, whichever way you pronounce it, and the Hanbalis. And then we just gonna say, unfortunately, the same with the people who follow the madhab, the school of thought of Imam Waddin Muhammad. We don't care what this sunnah says, man. The Imam said the hadiths is this and that and this and that and this and that. So all of them do that same thing. Just like right now you have a school of thoughts, it could be an imam that's greater than this Salafi imam in the same city. But these other people might say, hey, he not Salafi because he teach at that masjid and we don't like that masjid. So he not Salafi, although he's greater than the one that's speaking. So they tell anybody who listen to him, a single word he say, you're not Salafi. You kicked off the manhaj. So they won't listen to that person, although that person is greater than them. And it's with everything, the Asheris, all of that. Even with the Asheris and some of the stuff that they say. But the Rasul and them didn't believe like that. Oh, well, then they got to change it and attach it to the first person that said that stuff, who was the imam that they're choosing over the Rasul. These is issues. But like I said, these things are going to go on. And like Allah said, Allah not going to leave us in that type of condition of confusion until Allah distinguish who's the evil Muslims, the bad Muslims, the Muslims who really off it, from the ones who's really on it, and the good Muslims. You understand? The Muslims from the 72 sects separated from the Muslims that's on the one sect. But what you have to understand is, with all of these groups, the first group, 71, one in the Jannah. Next group, 72, one in the Jannah, rest in the hellfire. The Muslim Ummah, 72 in the hellfire and one in the Jannah. What is that telling you? The majority of the Ummah, they go in the wrong direction, baby. Alright? So all of this, a lot of this is the call to what's correct. Now, and Allah is informing us this in the Quran. Allah not going to leave us in this type of condition until He distinguish the wicked from the good. Right? And then it says Allah ain't going to reveal to us the unseen. Right? But Allah chose of His messengers whom He will. So believe in Allah and the messenger. And if you believe and fear in Allah, then you will be from the ones that get a great reward. You're going to be the ones on the right path. You're going to be the one on that path. But you got to keep in mind, Shaitan lays in that path. He tricks people off of it. I want them to deviate so that they can end up in the hellfire with me. And then it says, Shaitan say, I'm going to take many of them. The only ones I'm not going to be able to take is the ones that's the true slaves. The ones that really, and see, like they say, why does they use the word slave of Allah? See, slave doesn't come with compensation. They do all of this stuff, whether they complain this and that, and they know there's no reward coming for it. So for us who feel like, man, I gotta stay on my deen so that I can get this business. I gotta stay on my deen so that I can get this job. You're not being a slave of Allah. Okay? You considering your Islam as a favor. Allah owes me because I'm doing this. Yeah, you're supposed to make dua. Yeah, you could do certain things like use certain acts of ibadah as a wasila to offer up to get closer to Allah, because that's part of the deen. But doing it for those reasons, you done fell into something else. You're not worshiping Allah, you're worshiping your desires. And then sometimes when what they desire, if they end up not getting it, they feel some way towards Allah. If their marriage is in, or they don't get the marriage that they want, or they don't get the jobs and stuff that they want, they stop being it. Because they didn't get what they wanted out of it. That's because you're not a slave. Okay? A slave isn't, you know what I'm saying? You getting what you striving to get that Jannah though. So, let me show you another ayat that shows in the line of this. These are the things that we got to work out. We got to pay attention for, because it's going to be in the ummah. It's been established that the Muslims going to break up into 72 sects, 73. 72 of them is going to be off the true religious beliefs of the main body. They're not going to be upon what Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was up on, and what his companions was up on, which is words that came out of his mouth. They're not going to practice Islam with the understanding that we have. Okay? Regardless whether you put a label on it or not. And regardless if you do put a label on it, but you're not really doing that, it's not going to matter. So look, 873. So in 873, as for those who believe, right, this could be hypocrites, right, Muslims who just not really on the deen the way that they're supposed to, where they Muslim but they're involved in kufr. For those who understand what I mean, right? So as for those, they are only guardians for one another, right? The Kafirs is the guardians of the Kafirs. The bad Muslims is the guardians of the bad Muslims. That's why you will see a question asked, a Muslim go take all the money and the drugs from the bad Muslim. But then the Muslim will tell him, you can't do that, but they won't go tell the other Muslim, you can't be selling drugs to the Muslims. Because they're a guardian of that one. They probably get their weed and pills and whatever else from him. You can't go stop him from selling dope by taking his money and drugs and distributing it to the Muslims and fixing up the masjid. You can't do that. That's not permissible. But they not going to go tell him it's not permissible to be selling drugs to the Muslim and still be Muslim. See? And then it says, now unless you, the believers, the Muslims collectively, until y'all start to do that with each other, there will be oppression and corruption in the land. So what we have to learn is, just because a person call themselves Hanafi and they really follow Islamic law in accordance with that, with the things where you can differ, so they still within the guidelines of Islam, they still have the same religious beliefs as the main body, as the Rasul and his companions, you can't call them a sect and mistreat them. Just because they may use the term Salafi to tie themselves to the Salaf Salih, and they really up on that, like what the Rasul said, like the way that Islamic law is structured, they don't have different beliefs. they're not a sect. So you can't mistreat them or you can't judge them. One moment. Okay, alhamdulillah. So you can't mistreat them, or just like from the other, just because they want to say I follow the Hanafi madhab, you can't mistreat them. But at the same time, just because a person say I'm Salafi, that doesn't automatically make them 100% correct. Just because a person say I'm Hanafi, that don't make them 100% correct. Just because a person say I'm War of Deen, that don't make them 100% correct. The simple fact that you claim something doesn't make you 100% correct. You understand? And that's what people need to understand. And is these things, although they within the confines of the main body of the Muslims, the actions of the people, because they don't have the proper knowledge of what they're claiming, they're the problem. It's not the madhab, it's not the minhaj, it's the people that claim it that's the problem. Because they don't have the real knowledge, see? That's the problem. Now let's get into what's actually real sects. So yeah, it caused some problems amongst the Muslims. They are different. They are having some issues with each other. But that's shaitan. That's them putting themselves in the type of positions where Allah Azza wa Jal got them under that act, where they wandering blindly. You know, I'm telling you, and I'm just gonna be honest, because I deal with a lot. To me, it's about your character and your striving for me. You don't have to call yourself Salafi for me. You don't even have to call yourself Hanafi, this and that. If you want to say, hey, I'm just a Muslim, because at the same time, just because you label yourself a Salafi, you're not saying I'm a Salafi Muslim. I'm just a Muslim, but my minhaj is Salafi. So could people think it's labeling yourself as a type of a Muslim? No, you still just a Muslim, but your methodology is Salafi. Your madhab, you from the madhab of one of the 4 imams from the Salaf. But at the end of the day, you still just a Muslim. These is just your path of practicing it correctly. Because see, once you understand, there's a difference between a Muslim and a mu'min and a Muslim. So your path to becoming a mu'min, your path to becoming a Muslim, you may be more on the sirat than the others. So at the end of the day, you're not saying I'm a Salafi Muslim, I'm a Hanafi Muslim. I am just a Muslim, but I follow the Hanafi madhab. See, these are the things that people don't understand, because like I say, certain groups, they attack people from madhabs, they attack people from War of Deen, they attack people from other Sunni sects, and then these people came back with a counterattack. Allah said, we just Muslims, why don't you just say that you're just a Muslim? And then because they don't have the proper knowledge, they can't understand, they can't explain themselves. So basically you got 2 people deficient in understanding, arguing, and then this rhetoric passed. This ignorant passed throughout the ummah. You see what I'm saying? Their education doesn't extend the person who they listen to talk. Because rarely do you see individuals who actually went to Islamic universities and people who really sat with scholars and got ijazas. Not we went and sat and heard and sat around 500 people and listened to a lecture from a scholar, which some people try to pull that stunt like, oh well, I sat with such and such. No, you went and sat and listened to him talk. You didn't sit under his beard where he taught you directly. No, you didn't. You never done that. You understand? He never checked your knowledge to make sure it's thorough. You understand? You've never done that. But they can pull it over the eye. They can pull the wool over the eyes of people who don't know the process, so therefore they don't understand. But like I say, the people who truly educated, you don't never see them fall into this etiquettes like that. And they able to properly explain and give some detail to it. So the ones who continue to do that, like I say though, but things I'm referring to, technically they not a sect. And some people just don't understand there's different things from the Sunnah that you can differ in. Because some things the Rasul did do different type of ways. People just don't have all the hadiths. Like for instance, you'll see somebody who make wudu and they do their hair like this. Right? They might go like this. They might have some waves and do their hair like this. Somebody will tell them that they wrong. But there's authentic hadiths, because certain people who had hairstyles and different things came and asked the Rasul, do we have to wipe our hair back like this? Rasul said, no, you can make wudu in the direction of your hairstyle. But a lot of people don't know that. And that's authentic hadiths. I got the books. I've read them. I done took classes on it. But see, other people don't know that. And then some people, madhabs, Imam Hanifa might say, no, we don't do that. But then Imam Hanbali, Imam Shafi'i say, yeah, you could do it that way. Some people just gonna stick to what they madhab say. And then even if you show them the hadiths on it, oh, well, we don't follow hadiths. Hadith superstition. Imam Wardeen said this. Imam Fulan said that. So we just gonna go with that. Alhamdulillah. But just because you only know one aspect of how something that could be done, make sure somebody is truly wrong before you tell them that they're wrong. So this is why you have a lot of the different. But let me touch the Quran ayats about. But keep in mind, until we learn to unite and understand we can differ on things, if this way is better for you, in that regard, where you can differ, and it wasn't really clear in Quran and Sunnah, so the Sahaba placed the ruling, there's ijma on this particular thing, go with it. And if you're not able to do that, but you're able to ask a particular scholar or contact the scholars and they give you the rulings on it, then alhamdulillah, you did that. But see, the problem is, because a lot of us don't understand the Arabic language, we really disconnected from the scholars. And then we could just have certain type of people. We can't read the books of Arabics. We don't know anything. And then we have somebody who in the masjid who are a teacher, and then they answer from theyself. And then who answering from what they was told. And it's something that the scholars never even said. And because that person said that, and then y'all attached to that particular group, whether it's Hanafi, whether it's Hanbali, whether it's Shafi'i, whether it's Salafi, whether it's Imam Wardeen, sometimes you get an opinion of the person you're talking to, not necessarily from the scholars. And see, just like an individual with me, the thing that's going to separate me is I'm not going to go give you what's from the madhab. This is what the Quran say. Here's the tafsirs, the explanations. Here's the hadiths. You understand? And this is how the companions understood it. That's what I come with. That's what I come with. I'm not going to sit up here and say, Sheikh such and such said this, this, and that, and can't even show you that the Sheikh really said it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the books. I'm even going to read it to you. So there's no argue with me. Argue with the hadiths. Argue with the tafsirs. Argue with these scholars who agree with this. Argue with these narrations from the companions. Because this isn't a sect. Because it doesn't take you away from you still have the same religious beliefs. You're not a Muslim with different Islamic beliefs. And that's what a sect is. Now, Quran ayats on sects. It's only a couple. So we're going to go to Surah 23. Surah 23, right? Ayah number 52. Ayah number 52, right? And this is a very beautiful surah. Like, even starting before it, anybody who want to read it, it's beautiful, right? So in Ayah 52, Allah Azza wa Jal says, and verily, surely, this religion, your religion, the deen of Islam, is only one. It's only one religion, and I am your Lord. So fear me alone. That's how I start off. Then it come to 53 and say, but they, the people, have divided into different sects, and each one of them rejoice in what they have. They all rejoice in what they believe. They all think they right. They all think they flawless. But see, we referring to sects. Muslims with different Islamic beliefs. Again, madhabs, Salafiyah, these aren't different Islamic beliefs. Okay? There's just some differences in minhaj, and there's some differences in areas of Islamic law where you can differ, where there was more than one way that you could do things. Okay? So, if Allah Azza wa Jal is saying that the people break it up into sects and all of them pleased with what they have, this is in accordance with what the Rasul is giving us in the hadith about us breaking up more than the other sects. It's going to be more of us breaking up than them. The ones who truly own it, what's incorrect, they are the minority. The majority, 72 to 1. 72 to 1. Gotta learn your deen, man. You gotta learn your deen. And then all of us with the exact same religious beliefs, we arguing over the type of Muslim, what we attach ourselves to minhaj or to a particular madhab. You see what I'm saying? And like I say, some Salafis be attacking people who follow a madhab, not even knowing that the 4 Imams was from those generations that's considered to be a Salaf. Although some of them try to exclude Imam Ahmed ibn Hanbal, but technically he's from those generations. So they from the Salaf. But they don't, the ijma is not with them. If they have a single, but some of their ruling might be what the ijma of the Sahabas was. You just have to know how to look at it. One more Quran ayat. Surah 30, ayat 32. Yeah, one more ayat. So 32, where it says the same thing. Of those who split up their religion and became sects, basically they invented, brought new things into the religion, bid'ahs, and following their own desires. Like, we in love with these people, so we want to grave worship. That's different Islamic beliefs, see? We want to go to the graves and make dua. It blew my mind. I was listening to a particular group of Muslims, because like I said, I like to listen to everybody. And you know, they actually get together and they travel and go to the graves of like Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, and they went to the grave of Imam Bukhari, right? Sahih Bukhari, right? They went to this Imam, to the grave of the Imam, and they was making dua to Imam Bukhari. I'm listening to them talk about it, and they were so pleased, and the ones who never went was like, oh, what was that like? Like, could you feel his spirit resonating through your body? Yes, it was like Imam Bukhari was in me myself. I automatically just felt like a muhaddith. I was looking at these cats like, y'all bugging. Alright? Y'all bugged out. But they real nice, real good manners, etiquettes. And due to the fact that they was African American and they nice and they attacked the Salafis, and other people don't like certain Salafis that's attached to certain masjids, they flock to them. And these people go worship, make dua to people in graves. A person who couldn't even answer they dua if they was alive. Now you think they can answer your dua because they in the barzakh? That's bonkers. That's Muslims with different Islamic beliefs. That's a sect. That's a sect. So this is another one where it's saying they gonna divide they deen into sects, and each one of them is gonna be pleased with what they have. All of them gonna think they on the hawk, so you can't change it. Muslims gonna do it to the end of time because of the rejected one, Ibliso, Rajim, the rejected, disgusting shaitan. That's why they do it. That's why they're going to continue to do it. And when they do it, they're going to be pleased with what they have. But we have to understand what exactly a sect is, so we can focus on what's actually a sect, as opposed to all of us having the same beliefs and the same aqidah, but you might do wudu in a way that's permissible that I don't know about, and now I argue with you. Your masjid is a masjid of bid'ah because y'all make wudu in a halal manner with numerous authentic hadiths about it. But because you never read the hadiths, you may attach it to Imam Shafi'i might have said it was permissible. So you attach it to the Shafi'i madhab. Oh, y'all Shafi'is over there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all masjid full of bid'ah. We only follow the Salaf. Fool, Imam Shafi'i is from the Salaf. You see what I'm saying? So this is why. So I'm going to close with this right here. So right here I listed a couple of sects. Of course the Shia, because they had different Islamic beliefs. One, they felt like the Rasul wasn't supposed to be the prophet. They really feel like Ali was supposed to be. So in their Shahada, they actually got Ali's name in the Shahada. Like Allah made a mistake. The angel Jibreel made a mistake. And instead of giving it to Ali, he gave it to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then because of this, other people started to reject Abu Bakr and Umar, feeling like Ali automatically should have been the Khalifa before Abu Bakr and them. So now they curse Abu Bakr, they curse Umar, rejected the things they came with. That's different Islamic beliefs, but they Muslim. You understand? That's different Islamic beliefs, but they're Muslims. That's a sect, the Jahmiyyah, which is ridiculous. And there's a particular imam, a lot of people don't know where this came from, but there was a particular imam that African Americans followed, and it was at a point in time where they didn't believe that Jumu'ah services was real. Jumu'ah service not in the Quran. Praying 5 times daily salats in a masjid and congregation, that's not in the Quran. And they only believed in praying 3 times, but it was at home, not the whole family together at one particular point in time. They didn't even celebrate the Eids. The Eid's not even real. There's no Eid Salat. There's no Eid prayer. That's not in the Quran. Okay? That original thought process came from the Jahmiyyah. As you can see where I got marked down, the Jahmiyyah didn't believe in Jumu'ah Salat. They didn't believe in congregational salats. They didn't believe in Eid prayers. And they was also the ones propagated that the Quran was created. And if you didn't agree that the Quran was created, then you was a kafir. And being once they deem you a kafir, that means your blood, your wealth was permissible. That means they could take your money from you. Let's say you You might be a big drug dealer that's Muslim, but you've been declared a kafir. This money you earning is permissible. I could take it from you, boy. You out of the folds of the deen. Not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm saying when some people are able to declare you a kafir, some of them even deem your blood permissible. We can murk you out right now, and Allah gonna be pleased with us. Which is how the Rafida, the people who end up killing companions like Ali, Uthman, made their blood permissible because they ain't agree with them. Took them out the folds and murked them. Some of the people from the Salafiyah, we can't take you out of fold of Islam, but we can kick you out the Minhaj, the Salafiyah, and that give us the right to treat you like you not a Muslim. And anybody who salam you, we could treat them the same way. Just because you go to that masjid, that whole entire masjid get the same treatment because you walk through the doors. See, this is where some of these beliefs come from. That's not from Salafiyah. But that don't mean it ain't some Salafis that do that. What? You went to that masjid for Jummah? Everybody in that masjid, it ain't permissible. They off it. We ain't got to salam them. We ain't got to do nothing. They don't count. The Jahmiyyahs, the ones who kind of started some of these beliefs. And they was around during the Salaf. Unfortunately. So like I said, it was a particular group of Muslims that was here from the African American descent. At one point in time, they didn't believe in Jummah service. They still congregated on Sundays and had what they call taleems. Why was they doing taleems over Jummah? Because Jummah Salat wasn't real. Why was the masjid closed all the time until it was time for taleems on Sunday? Because there was no congregational salat. Quran don't say there was congregational salat. Why they wasn't having Eids? Instead, they were just meeting on Sundays for taleems. This original stuff came from the Jahmiyyah. These are sects. That's different religious beliefs from the main body. Muslims with different Islamic beliefs. Then you got your Ahmadiyyans, bonkers, which they had a lot of Sufism type stuff, a lot of mysticism into their folds with a little bit of Shiitism with the Rafidas. Those are sects. Now don't get me wrong, when it comes to Salafi, Hanafi, Maliki, Hanbali, Shafi, you have people who treat it like a sect, but see the flaws is in the people, not in the teaching. Just like you have some people who Muslims and they the worst people in the whole city. It's hard. I don't even really know a whole lot of people that's worse than you. Kafir, Muslim or not. I know some people right now, the worst people. When it boils down to the worst person that they actually know in life, it's a Muslim. It may be their brother, it might be their sister, it might be their cousin. You're the worst member in our whole entire family. And you Muslim. But do that mean Islam teach him to be that way? Nah. Why are they like that? The rejected one. And then they put themselves in a position where Allah Azza wa Jal put that thing on them. And the reason why I refer to it as that thing, because Allah is basically saying once it's on you, nobody can get it off of you. You understand? Once Allah chooses to allow you to be astray and have absolutely no guidance, can't nobody do nothing about it but Allah Azza wa Jal. They don't even know. They deviated. They don't even know how to turn back around and find a straight path to get back on it. because they're wandering blindly. Why is that? Because Allah Azza wa Jal done put that thing on them. You understand? Like, I'm going to tell you something that's disturbing to me, and sometimes I do this. I be talking to Muslims, man, they be like, man, I'm on my deen, man. I don't know another Muslim that deen harder than me, except for you. I be like, oh, you on your deen, huh? Okay, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. And then I'll mention something about that Kafir book, the Bible, that they call holy. They actually call it holy. I'll mention something about that. They can talk about that Bible for hours. See, Romans 15, what's meant by it? Look, they even do tafsirs of it. See, what was meant by this verse was this, that, and I mean, they can go through details without even having to look it up. They ain't even got to go look at the verse. And over here in Leviticus says this, that, and the third. And what is meant by it, and this is what happened because Pharaoh said. I'm talking about they could go on for hours. And then when you get done and say, well, you know, the Quran says this and this. Crickets. 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 You know, it's a hadith, this, and the third. Crickets. Crickets. Oh, you Salafi? What teach me about Salafia? Hold on, man. Somebody at my door again. It's the people out there working. You know what I'm saying? But bust down the manhaj for me. Oh, man. See, you got to distinguish yourself from Sunnis. So do you feel like a Salafi doesn't follow the Sunnah? Well, yeah, they do. Okay, so technically you still a Sunni then, right? Well, I don't have bid'ah. Crickets. Don't even know what they're talking about. But say something about that Bible. Well, they sound like they've been to divinity school. But my point in mentioning that is they still live their life in accordance with those Christian views. But now because they Muslim, they consider it to be on a deen. They might not drink anymore. They might not smoke anymore. You know what I'm saying? So that's alhamdulillah. But those be the things that they measure being on a deen by. But Islam is not their way of life. That's what deen is. Islam is not their way of life. There's no way as a Muslim, especially if you've been Muslim more than 2 years, that you articulate that book that they refer to as holy better than the Quran. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But like I say, man, a lot of us, that's the problem. A lot of us is attaching ourselves to permissible names. Nobody has to call themselves Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Nobody has to refer to themselves as Salafi, Hanafi. And again, that's not changing the fact that you're nothing but just a Muslim. For the ones who say, well, Allah just called us a Muslim, therefore we should just call ourselves Muslims. We are still just calling ourselves a Muslim. For the ones who understand. Like I said, because of that rhetoric, where there was a particular scholar that said, because the way it was worded in English, yeah, we should stand out and confess our Salafiyah so that nobody get us confused with these Sunni Muslims that's on some bid'ah. But they took that blanket statement, leaving out the rest of what actual Salafiyah is, because they wasn't really taught by an educated person. Oh man, we Salafis. Are we Salafi? What is that? That just means we understand Islam with the understanding that the Sahabas had. And then, how you got that understanding? You don't even understand the Quran yet. So they have a lot of blanket, empty teachers. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them. And it's generally the ones that's into it with everybody. They got bad manners. They got a lot of Muslims just hating Salafiyah because of them. Like I said, oh man, that brother went to that masjid. Man, I seen such and such, man, he salamed such and such that went to the masjid on Friday. He ain't Salafi no more. Show where that's from the minhaj. If that make him not Salafi because he salamed somebody that went to another masjid that's not a masjid of bid'ah. They just don't refer to themselves as a Salafi masjid. They just refer to themselves as a Sunni masjid. Show the majority of the people from the Salaf as-Salih that said we don't salam other people because they went to a masjid that doesn't label itself Salafi. Where is it at? So in order for you to say that that's the way of the Salaf, you got to show the majority of the Salaf that stood on that principle. And then when they stood on that principle, they was able to attach it to Quran and Sunnah. Like I said, some of these principles come from sects, the Jahmiyyah, the Mu'tazila, which forms into groups like the Rafidas and all these other different things. Where you got to show where it came from. Oh man, you ain't allowed to listen to nobody unless we give them approval of Salafiyah. Show who from the Salaf as-Salih did that. The majority. Show that from the majority of the Salaf as-Salih. If you want me to adopt it as a principle, I understand Allah Azza wa Jal says, spread the salams. See, these are the things that bring beauty and peace to the religion. Not just only in Assalamu alaikum, but in salams and being peaceful with the other Muslims. We're supposed to spread the salams in speech and in actions. That stuff is discord. But the Madhabbs do it too. Oh man, he's Shafi'i. We don't rock with them. We only fool with the Shafi'is and Shafi'is only. This a Hanafi masjid. We only do stuff in accordance with Imam Hanifa. We don't care about what that hadith said. Them hadiths only fool you. You don't need them no more. They not relevant. You only need this madhab. We could do Jumu'ah however we want. Well, Imam Hanifa didn't do Jumu'ah like this with three adhans, a dan all in the middle and all this weird stuff y'all got going. That ain't from the way of Imam Hanifa. But y'all do it anyway, don't you? So the problem is not the methodologies in the madhab, it's the people that attach themselves to them but don't really know those schools of thoughts or that methodology. But why is it? That rejected one. And then possibly they put themselves in a position where Allah Azza wa Jal put that thing on them. And can't nobody get it off but Allah Azza wa Jal. Ain't nothing we could do about it. They better learn how to save themselves first. Allah, get this thing off me. Please. What I gotta do? So, sorry man, this got a little long. But I just want to be specific on the difference between sects and methodologies. No, you don't have to call yourself Salafi. But because you do, that doesn't change the fact that you're still just a Muslim. You don't have to call yourself Sunni. But if you do, that doesn't change the fact that you're just a Muslim. So those two things don't even apply. These just arguments that people use because they kept getting attacked. So this is their attack back point. Well, you just breaking it up into a sect. Let's go look and see what a sect is. What religious beliefs do I have that's not in accordance with the main body? Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'ah, the Rasul and the companions, i.e. the Salaf as-Salih. With terms that they use themselves and terms that's in the Quran. The definition of salaf is in the Quran. You look at the Arabic, it has salaf right there in more than one ayah. Then with the hadith where the Rasul said to his daughter, I'm a salaf for you. I'm the example of the person that you need to follow. Those aren't sects. So man, let me go ahead and get to what I gotta do, man. They done working outside the masjid, man, you know. Gotta get a few things done to the place. So, assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Man, I apologize for this getting too long, but hopefully it brings some understanding. And sometimes we just have to agree to differ when it's in things that's permissible to differ. That's why we gotta learn our deen. Now, if it's some things that's not permissible to differ in, one, it still don't change the fact that that is another Muslim. And in ibadah, they might be better than you. They might pay zakat perfectly. They might pray sunnahs. They might pray tahajjud. You know what I'm saying? They might feed people every day of the week, other Muslims, but they just have some deviant belief. They might be outside of that one little category of something that can be fixed when they come across somebody to explain to them. When it comes to a battle, they might be hafiz of the Quran with tafsirs and everything. They might be 1,000 times better than you. You might just have rhetoric. You know how to talk about what to believe in, but you don't know how to properly believe in it. See, these is the things that matter with Allah Azza wa Jal. So no, you don't have to call yourself none of it. And at the same time, just because people call they self that thing, that don't necessarily mean that's what they own. Like I said, I know it's a Hanafi masjid here. Okay? And if Imam Hanifa was able to come back to life and walk in that masjid, he's definitely going to correct some things. Or he's not going to stay. He's going to go establish another masjid. Or go to another one. Wait a minute. Wait, what y'all mean? Y'all talking about this a Hanafi masjid? I mean, Imam Hanifa. This isn't none of my belief system. This didn't come from me. I got a book on Sharia law over here. Right? The title of it is Sharia law, and it breaks down the four madhabs and how they see certain differences and issues. I even got books on where the companions. Let me show it, and then I'm going to wrap it up, and then I'm going to close. But like my point is, some of these things that people is attaching to certain things, just like some of these people who call themselves Salafi, if the people from the Salaf was able to come back and sit down and say, whoa, that's not from our methodology. That's not how we did things. Y'all doing this in the name of understanding Islam the same way that we do, but we wouldn't do any of this. Oh, we only call ourselves Salafi to distinguish ourselves from the other Sunnis that don't know what they doing. Man, a'udhu billah min dhalik. But let me show y'all something, man. A couple of little books real quick, inshallah. So right here, this right here is called The Conflict Between the Companions, right? And the Positions of the Pious Predecessors. Usually when you see pious predecessors, that's an English translation for Salaf Salih. But sometimes they are worded right there because due to arguing and debating and being attacked and reattacking a certain group of Salafis, right? And people hating Salafiyah, and as soon as they hear the word Salafiyah or Salaf or Salaf Salih, they automatically attach it to Wahhabi stuff, which is not true. So you will see, and it cracked me up because I be seeing people who hate Salafis, they hate Salafiyah, but they have books that have stuff about the pious predecessors. Not understanding that's an English translation for the Salaf Salih. Salaf is basically the predecessors. But anyway, So the pious predecessors regarding them. So a lot of things that arise with conflict, how they dealt with them amongst the Muslim Ummah, how they treated each other, even when fights broke out. A lot of people don't know that Ali and Aisha gathered up armies and went to war against each other. You understand? But, alhamdulillah, some people was able to get some good words into the ear of Aisha, and she backed down. They hit her with those reminders, and she backed down. But had they came across each other, somebody was going to do somebody. They wasn't that war for play. And this is Ali and Aisha. All right? Because they didn't like how certain things was handled when it came to what was done to Uthman. There was plenty of conflict and things that jumped off amongst the Salaf Salih. Okay? The stuff that went on with Muawiyah and Ali. And a little letter that was written and different things. I mean, come on, man. Ali was murdered. But we're going to say martyred. Uthman was murdered. But we're going to say martyred. Umar was murdered. But we're going to say martyred. Umar was stabbed up in the masjid, leading the ranks in Salah. Uthman Ali was martyred by Muslims. Muslims that said, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. So when you get into the conflicts of the companions, and a lot of other different things, like I got other different books on fiqh of the pious predecessors. And see, that's how, you understand? The Salaf Salih on different issues that arise and how they dealt with them. The way people who call themselves the followers of the pious predecessors, they don't handle issues even close to the way that the Salaf Salih did. Not even close. Almost to the point where it looked like a page out of the book of the Jahmiyyah. Some of them looked like a page out of the book of the Rafida, the Mu'tazila. Yeah. So that's just a long version. I really just want to explain everything that we consider sex is not sex. But the reason why they continue to do it, it's because of shaitan. And we got to take that principle from that ayat in the Quran, like what Allah gave to Rasul. Hey, don't even concern yourself with them. If that's what they want to do, then alhamdulillah, we're going to leave those affairs in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Like Allah said. You don't have no concern with them. Don't worry about them. Don't pay them no attention. They got to deal with Allah Azza wa Jal in the end. You know what I'm saying? And that's the worst kind of dealing. That's the type of dealing that your mind can't even fathom. So let Allah deal with them. Because it's going to happen. Hadiths, Quran ayats, not only are they going to break up into sex, they're going to be pleased. All of them going to be pleased with what they have. All of them going to think they on the hawk. Don't concern yourself with them. Stick to the main body. Whether you put a label on it or not, just make sure you own what you're supposed to be on. Pure Islam, Quran, Sunnah, with the understanding of the Sahaba and the righteous ones from the best generations of Muslims. Just make sure that's what you really own, because that's where the success lies. You understand? So, assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.